There you go. Okay, so welcome to the wrap-up session of the second group of the Americas time zone. I'm going to share my screen so we can walk through what we're going to do today. So this was the first session that we had, where we brainstormed around the steps for the map here at the top. And I then asked each of you to contribute to the map section below and fill out the remaining sections of actions, feelings, pain points, and opportunities. And that was the async individual work. Thank you, Amy, for contributing as well. I know you didn't participate in the first session, so I'm really happy to see that you managed to contribute some ideas to the map. And now we're in the wrap-up session, which is this one. And what I was trying to do, and next time I have to structure it a little bit better to give more time in advance, was to have people review their colleagues' stickies and add questions and thoughts as comments before the session. But I know that many of you didn't have that time, and that's perfectly fine. So what we're going to do first, and that will take 5 minutes, is just silently, we want to go through this map here below and just review everything that we have right now, all of the steps, actions, feelings, pain points, and opportunities. And you feel free to, if something, not sparks joy, but sparks a doubt or a question, feel free to add some comments or, questions or thoughts as comments. You're also free to add other stickies for, actions, feelings, pain points, and opportunities that came to mind when you're going through it. But most importantly, what I'd like for you to focus on is look at all of these and think which ones you have the least confidence on. Which ones do you think we should do more research? Which ones you're not so sure if Sasha, the persona, actually does, feels, or experiences in pain points, or maybe in terms of opportunities, things that you really think we should do more research before we invest in it. And that would be the beginning. So 5 minutes for that. And then the next part is we're going to review comments, if there are any comments, if people create them. And we're then going to vote. We're going to have each person share the stickies that they have the least confidence on and explain why. And that will be 5 minutes per person. And then silently, we're going to vote on the top 5 or 10 things that we have the least confidence on, so that we have all of that recorded. But you don't have to pay attention to the structure. I'm just giving you this brief overview. I'm here to facilitate and guide you through all of these timings and what we have to do, etc. For now, I just want you to focus on reviewing all that is here in the map section: actions, the feelings, pain points, and opportunities. As I said, you can add other stickies, add comments with questions, but focus on what you have the least confidence on. Does that make sense? Does anyone have questions about what we're going to do now?
Pedro, for mine.
Oh, go for it, Amy.
I left comments probably in the wrong place last night, but I at least left them in a particular color. Please feel free to move them if I put them in the wrong place, like I think I did. And Sarah?
Okay. Are those the blue stickies here?
They are.
Okay. All right. Yeah, if we can, I can go through them when in these 5 minutes that everyone else is reviewing the map below. I can go through these blue ones here at the top and see which ones we need to move down.
Okay, thank you.
It felt like people conflated feelings and pain points. Was that expected?
Yes, that's okay.
Okay. And then the opportunities were a little confusing to me. I didn't know if it was supposed to be solution agnostic. Because anytime anybody has a pain point, there's an opportunity to make it better. So I was not sure if you wanted us to list improvements from the perspective of our product.
Yes, that would be the case. I mean, if you had an idea that would address that pain point, and it could be, it doesn't have to be validated, of course, but it just, maybe for this pain point, we could do this. And some pain points, we don't know what would be the best way to address them, so that's fine.
Okay, so you were anticipating the least amount of stickies in that row.
Yes, yes.
Okay, great.
I mean, I didn't have any particular expectations, to be honest. I just wanted all of you to have fun and contribute what you were willing and able to contribute. So anything goes. Okay, can we get started then? All right, so I'm going to set the timer for 5 minutes with a cello sounds, and you can review all of it. If I will ask at the end if someone needs a bit more time. Let me know when you've done reviewing. You can leave a comment in the chat saying you're done reviewing it, and have fun. I'll also try to share some music if I can.
Yeah, because otherwise I'm leaving. That was the best part of last time.
Now I don't really care, 'cause you're running around over there.
How do you want us indicating things we're not confident in?
For now, you can just mentally memorize it, or you leave a comment on them. You can leave a comment. You just right-click on them, and there's the ability to add a comment if you want.
Came by to tell me how you changed. You got a new girl, she keeps you sane. And you don't think of me like that. I hold the moment in the gap. But honey, I know you. We danced to Elvis in the kitchen, at least we used to. And honey, you know me. We danced from Belfast to the basin when you sang, and it stoned me. It stoned me.
Step outside my steeple, three-way that one sequel. Told God I won't leave you, it's all about love, no hate, no evil. I might fall into the trap of the feeble. Warn my brothers, they need you. I only see stars when I see you. What's better than the black and illegal? And melanin, there's too much hope. Said they wanna put pain in the dope. It did that the killers that feed you the most. Tell me I'm lost.
Okay, 2 minutes left.
I don't wanna cross roads, don't wanna long smoke. Inhale, false choke. Covered in blue, trying to uncover a clue. It's all about you to you. That's not unusual. Right now I see through that. You know damn well what the truth said. The IQ's covered by do-rags. Don't give them an option to prove that. Red-handed, I caught you slipping. Wanna tell me I love you different. If you know just what's missing, you might as well stay in the kitchen. I should just learn how to listen, or maybe just mind my business. Or I should just keep my distance. I should just keep my distance, bro.
Okay, 1 minute left. Does anyone want a bit more time? 1 minute? Okay, I'll add one more.
Told God I won't leave you. Told God I won't leave you, yeah.
Okay, 20 seconds left. Okay, time's up. Let me share my screen. So we're all looking at the same thing. Okay, so let's see if anyone added comments. So no specific comments, but I did notice some things that were being added here with some icons. All right, so let's start. Let me see. Yeah, we had some stars and some question marks. Who added those?
I added the stars to indicate the ones that I am not confident in or
Okay.
are
Okay.
confusing.
Sure. Yeah, those we will go through next. I'm wondering if anyone has just general thoughts or comments on what you reviewed, or anything in specific, but not we're not going to discuss now the confidence levels. Is just general questions.
A lot of these statements here felt really familiar to me.
You mean which statements?
In general, the description here, yeah, that's what it's felt like.
Okay. So the feelings and pain points. Okay. Yeah. Good. You've been there, so it feels good to be recognized and acknowledged. Okay, Ben.
Oh, I was the one that added the question marks and the same purpose as Sarah had.
Okay. Okay, that's also fine. We don't have to, if there are no general comments or thoughts, that's also perfectly acceptable. So in that case, what we're going to do now is I'll give 5 minutes per person, and each person is going to share what they have the least confidence on and explain why. And yeah, you can just share one thing, you can share multiple things, but try to explain the rationale of why you think we should do more research on it. And it can be anything: steps, actions, feelings, pain points, or opportunities. If you haven't selected one or more things you don't have a lot of confidence on, take this time to also look into it. But I think, Sarah, would you mind going first? It looks like you already have a few picks.
Yeah. And then I would ask if everyone can put icons on their stickies for the voting part, because I'm going to not be able to mentally keep track of everyone's stickies they're not confident in if they're not visually indicated.
Yeah, Don't worry. I will, as we go through them, I will also add comments on them saying that, for example, Sarah doesn't feel very confident or Amy doesn't feel very confident about this. So you will see the comments indicators.
Okay, cool.
Okay, let's start 5 minutes and you're good to go. I will follow you now so you can move around and everyone will see what you're seeing.
Okay, perfect. So we had a sticky under investigate implementation that said run competitive analysis. And perhaps I'm misinterpreting this, but this is something that should have been done prior to the problem or solution validation. So I don't feel like it happens for a software developer here. I could see it happening if the task that they're working on is to become more competitive in market with a specific tool and you're essentially copying that tool, but I don't think that is part of a developer's workflow here. The next two.
Annabelle, you added that one. Do you want to share a little bit about?
Yeah, I was just looking at that one too. I added a second one, which could probably replace it. In my head, when I was thinking competitive analysis, I wasn't thinking like the product portion of it. I was thinking how another tool accomplished the same thing. So if it's an open source tool, you can look at the code. Somewhere I wrote no use reinventing the wheel. If someone's already done it, then chances are it's a good place to start.
Yeah, okay, so that makes sense. That was my second interpretation of it. Cool. And then my next two are more that I felt that it was ambiguous, so I didn't understand the context behind it. So we need to focus more on an actual problem. I didn't understand if I look up in line with an action, what is that trying to indicate?
I honestly don't remember adding that, so can't help you there. Jeez.
Okay, cool.
That might have been, I don't know why it says, I think I remember writing that. I'm not sure why it has Annabelle's name on it. It was just a feeling that I've had as a developer, like, why am I working on this? Like, this is sort of extraneous to like the core problems of our product.
So like the context is not clear of why we're doing this. Like there are all these requirements, but what does this add up to?
Yeah, basically.
I think
Like,
I added
feel
the
as though I'm
sticky.
wasting my
Sorry.
time.
I added the blank sticky and then you filled it out. That's probably why it says that. So last updated is more accurate.
So the context there is more the product manager has not provided business justification for what I'm working on.
Right, basically.
Okay, cool.
Or I don't feel as though like this is a validated problem, right? So it could be on the researcher or designer too.
Okay. And then my other one was along the same vein, which just said, I have a bad feeling about this. And so when I map up, they have a bad feeling about the preparation or what?
Yeah, I was just being cheeky. It's a Star Wars quote. I don't know. I just like, again, it's on personal experience. Like, I have a feeling as I'm starting this that it's gonna like snowball into something like way out of hand, or it's gonna like just a scope creep, or it could be any number of things. But like, it's just kind of like sometimes you can tell that you're about to start on something that's like doomed in certain ways. Kind of wanted to.
Sounds like you had a terrible time working as a developer.
I did. That's why I'm no longer a developer.
Those were my three. Everything else seemed pretty clear and something that I would think belonged in each action stage.
Okay, so if you had to pick one thing out of all of this that we should do more research and investigate to, just gain more confidence because we need to have a solid user journey for Sasha here for this job to be done, what would be that thing that we would research?
I would research the define through the confirm stage.
That's also valid. Okay. So let's
So I felt that all of our stickies between define and confirm were all over the place. It seems like everybody thinks that developers have a really hard time receiving a task, understanding what's needed, and then gathering resources for it. So Annabelle's talking about doing investigation into the code of another open source tool that does the same thing. But then we have a lot of other places where someone might need to do investigation depending on the type of company that they work for, the industry that that's in. And I think we could improve that experience. It didn't really feel like people kind of get the execution phase. But so that would be my response.
Sorry, you said that people get the execution phase or do not get?
Do. Feels like we have higher confidence once somebody actually starts writing code about what they're doing.
Yeah.
We understand what they're doing.
Exactly.
So if I were going to vote on something that I had lower confidence on, it would be the before phase. So I'm a developer. I've been either assigned something or I picked something, and now I'm going to try and disseminate what I'm supposed to do.
Mm-hmm. So it would be, between define and confirm.
Yes.
Okay. In this case, I just added one comment on define and one comment on confirm, but I think we're all here. I think we all understand what it is. Okay. Thank you, Sarah. That was very helpful. Okay. Yeah, and you're doing it right. Don't worry.
Perfect.
So now, who wants to go next?
I can go.
Okay. Let me start the timer now with a cuckoo sound. And Ben, you're free to share the things that you have the least confidence on.
Okay, so I also happen to kind of zoom in on the define through confirm stages. The first one I have here is under define and research goals. I don't know if it was I should research the goals that I have with this project, or sort of ambiguous. So I don't know if somebody wants to speak to that. Maybe I wrote it and I'm
Let's see. Yeah, I think you. Well, not this one was Annabelle, but the other one was you. The define measures.
So, yeah, I don't know about the research goals. The next one, yes, I did put that. I would hope that that's part of what a developer thinks about, but I don't think it actually is in a lot of the cases. So I don't know.
It would not be responsibility of the developer. Is that what you're saying?
Right. I don't know if it's either they think it's their responsibility or whether or not it's being done at some point and they make sure that it's been done. Oftentimes this is a researcher's job, but I would want to in an ideal world, I would love it if developers sort of double checked that these existed for the stuff that they're working on. I don't know if that's pipe dream or what, but
I have found that I'm frequently asked that. Why am if I do this, what's the outcome? Because it helps somebody, one, understand why they're doing something, but it also helps them pivot. If they know the outcome and they come across some sort of problem in terms of feasibility, they can still achieve the outcome a different way. Or the product manager and the designer have done all of this work, but aren't actually in the code. And so their assumption or belief about how something is going to work is just wrong. So if you state the outcome, then the developer is able to go, well, that's not really how this is going to go, or not possible for these reasons. So I agree with that one, but perhaps we call it acceptance criteria.
Okay.
And then the last one I had was weight the effort based on past throughput and LOE. I think what this means is that they're actually like putting the weight on the
Yes.
or whatever it is. I just remember hearing anecdotally that that doesn't happen a lot of the time. So I'm not sure. It's pretty loose. I just, maybe we should validate that is the case or not. I don't know if that's important enough to spend time on, but I just.
Every team in Create does that for their issues that they work on.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is me speaking as a developer. We struggle with this. I was actually going to mark this as an important problem because the technical writing team can't solve it, not in a way that works for us.
Cool. That's it for me.
I find that oftentimes that is a function of leadership wanting that. I actually dislike the practice of adding weights to things. But different departments at GitLab put a lot of value in the create source code groups throughput is 38 per milestone. And that's what we make lots of important decisions based on. Okay, so we make lots of important decisions based on an estimate that's really just a guess. Perfect.
Yeah.
So I agree with Amy that it's a problem, but it's also not necessarily something that the developer is being made to do it.
Yeah. All right. So we can wrap this up for Ben. Ben, which one thing do you have the least confidence on? I mean, it's fair if you say a lot of things because you're new at GitLab, but you know, just one.
I mean, can I kind of punt and say that I agree with Sarah that like this sort of initial stage is where we should focus?
Sure. Yeah, that's more than okay. Okay. That's great. Thanks. All right. So moving on to the next lucky person, Amy, Annabelle, who wants to talk about what they're least confident on.
So I can potentially speed this up by saying I don't have really any least confidence here because I'm coming from a completely different viewpoint. So consider me skippable.
Okay, so let me ask you differently. What action, feeling, thought, or pain point is here in this map that maybe we're biased by how we do things at GitLab, and it might not be exactly the experience for other companies that use GitLab. Does that help a little bit?
Think.
Okay, let's try that. In the meantime, as you review that, Amy, take your time. Annabelle, can you share a little bit about your confidence levels?
Yes.
Okay.
I put some icons on just now, so I can go through. The first one is security approvals are important, but taking a long time. And this was placed under locate. I guess I just wasn't sure why it's under locate because I thought that approvals kind of happened in the execute stage. And more, I guess, if this is just GitLab or if this is everyone, all developers.
Mhm. Yeah, I think we can, I don't know, for the purposes of this, we can abstract that a little bit and just think, approvals in general take a long time, or in this case might be just, domain specific approvals are important, for example, compliance or legal or security, or if there's a specific performance team and the change has a lot of performance concerns.
I would frame that just to be from a legal standpoint. So legal, compliance, and security, I think, are different than performance. Because performance you can ship without the risk of some organization coming in and fining your company $10 million.
Mhm.
But anything to do from the legal perspective, I think, is handled differently. Yeah.
So this does belong in locate then? What specific, well, this is probably isn't the purpose of this. I just didn't know what happens at that stage.
I think, yeah, this one would probably fit better under monitor.
Yes.
So it's a waiting phase, and it's
Okay.
in between executing and modifying, right? So you're just evaluating to see, hey, is this okay from a security, compliance, and legal perspective or not? So we could move it there. You don't have to move it right now. I can do that later.
Okay. And then I think I have 4 more. They kind of go together. So I broke my GDK again, and maintaining my dev environment is such a pain. There's always some dependency out of date. I wonder, this could go 2 ways. One, I would say most developers shouldn't have much of a problem maintaining a dev environment, hopefully. Breaking the GDK is more GitLab specific, although you could break your own development environment. But I find when I break things, I can easily ask any developer for help, and it's pretty easy for them to do. So I just don't know if this is a pain point. But on the other hand, interviewing people about new features in GitLab, if it's beyond their stage group, then yes, setting up the environment to test, let's say, a secure feature when they don't have anything set up is a giant pain in the butt. So it could go both ways.
As I've had the exact opposite experience. I have to use the GDK. I break it all the time, and getting help is frustrating.
Yeah, I think we
I
could. Yeah,
actually added that square. That's why I was hesitant to zero in on it. I didn't want to call out my own stuff.
yeah. I think in general, it's just about keeping a development environment healthy enough for you to do your job. GDK in itself, we could have just one big session or multiple sessions just talking about the GDK. So that's perfectly fine.
And then last 2 were, I think I added one of these. Yeah, now I'll get a chance to refactor this code as I go. I don't think anyone's ever excitedly said that. And it kind of goes along with I've wanted to learn about this part of the code base. Yeah, I don't know if that's accurate for anyone to be like, yes, I get to refactor this legacy code, hooray. That's not going to happen. It's a good thing to do, but it's not an excited feeling. So I'm not really sure why I did that.
I disagree. I think that if people love making things better, I think that is accurate. I think it can go both ways depending on the culture of the company. But people are often excited to refactor something and make it better versus we are a feature factory. I never get to make things better. The product manager always just tells me to add new things. Everything's broken. So maybe the act of refactoring is not fun.
Maybe it depends. So when I was on the front end team, that was my least favorite thing ever.
Okay.
So that's why I'm not a developer anymore. But also, I guess it depends again, on the culture, because if you're assigned a feature and you've already weighted it, and I guess this is where you would want to make sure that you're weighting it based on what the actual code looks like. Finding out that you also have to refactor a huge chunk of it is not a good thing. Like, it's like, okay, so
that
I'm not gonna,
perspective, yeah.
I'm not gonna finish this.
Yeah.
That's good framing, Annabelle.
I love this discussion. It's really good. Thank you both. So let's stop that now. And what we're going to do now, since we've talked about all of these interesting things that we have a lot of confidence on, and questions that we had, what we're going to do now is vote on the stickies that we have the least confidence on. And I'm going to give 5 votes to each person. I hope that is enough. And we're going to vote for 5 minutes. And you can, if you want, you can vote more than once on the same sticky, on the same thing. You just keep clicking and it adds votes to one thing. If you want to remove it, you shift click to remove your vote. Does that sound clear? Any questions?
I was going to practice voting on one to make sure I understand how to do this. So shift click.
No, I still have to activate the voting mode.
Okay.
And once you'll see everything, you know, activating voting mode is like a superpower. And then you can click on things to vote. So I'll start and you'll see it's I think it's fairly intuitive. So 5 minutes with a cuckoo sound.
You said for least confident?
Yes, least confident. So we were talking about these things that it might be good for us to do more research on. So now we're going to vote anonymously on, we have 5 votes to share and vote on what we want. And if you want, you can spend your 5 votes on one thing. You choose how you want to spread them out. Okay. Okay, so, well, actually first let me start the voting session. Least confidence, 5 votes. And okay. You can now begin voting and 5 minutes. There you go.
Got a piece in my mind to tell you who's mine. Nobody hurts like me for you. Soft slacks at night, I'm wearing them tight. Nobody hurts like I do. You fake is fine, but your water ain't wine. So stop feeding me a little more time. Your shit's a mess, I'm not yours to undress. I'm leaving this love for the last time. I'm not yours, I'm mine. You've got the means to caress, but we can't.
2 minutes left.
Young love waits. If I could, then I meet you at the gate of St. Peter. When the fever takes my mind, my God, she came singing my name. Sounded like rain on the mountain while burning light. Young flame burns soft as a candle lit between our two hearts. Just beats apart in the dark. Spend my summer riding high on the whiplash, head back, blowing through the leaves. Growing up a preacher was all you ever dreamed. I got the holy rope, I got the holy rope. I feel the fever grip when I needed it closer. I'm at the field.
All right, everyone voted. Stop timer, and then the voting session. And I'm going to share my screen with the voting results. All right, so I'm just going to quickly go through them. So we had 3 votes on this one. Estimations can increase unnecessary pressure on my team. This one was very interesting. Anyone wants to comment on this one that was the top voted one?
Yes, so maybe it's being misinterpreted. I wrote that one and I meant that if a developer is being forced to put a weight on something that they feel is unknown, but someone such as myself says, well, can you just think about how long it might take you? And someone feels backed into the corner and either gives a really big number to protect themselves or gives too small of a number and then it takes way too long. And I think developers who have gone through that over and over and over start to feel unnecessary pressure when asked to give an estimation of something that they truly have no idea how hard it is.
I think I voted on this, and I guess because I mean, I think everyone feels that way, whether a developer or not. Trying to estimate something is really hard and pressure. I feel least confidence in it because I don't know, I guess, how to solve it. So maybe I misinterpreted this exercise a little bit. I think it's worth researching more on how to fix it. Not that I don't think it's a problem.
I think that's totally applicable here because there might be problems that we can't solve that people bring up because it's part of their workflow, but it's just not feasible or doesn't make sense for GitLab to try and solve that from the perspective of the product. So I think the vote makes complete sense, Annabelle. If we don't have confidence in our ability to solve it, we should do more research.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's spot on. Like if we don't, it sounds like we acknowledge the problem, but maybe we don't know enough about it or its ramifications to understand or to see the light of, okay, maybe this is a path. And right now we don't see any paths on solving it. So we need to unpack all of this, which is a big problem. So I agree. Anyone else wants to comment on that? It's also okay if you don't comment. All right, so let's jump to the second one. That was the second most voted. Maintaining my dev environment is such a pain. There is also some dependency out of date. We already talked about that one. So unless anyone wants to share anything else, we can go to the other ones.
That was also mine. I just reflect, I was briefly a developer and it was extremely hard for me to maintain my development environment, but it was also kind of a crappy company I worked for. So there's also this entire new industry of remote development environments aimed at partially solving this problem. Someone no longer has to maintain a local environment. And I think it also depends on how many third-party dependencies or libraries or like how your department picks tools. So I don't know. Personally, I also had developers on my teams say, I can't do anything today. My local environment is broken.
Yeah.
A ton of times.
That's fair.
That's the context to that one. That also may not be something we're trying to solve.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just for context, or a broader context in this case. This user journey, I invited, just people from the stages in Create, but it affects many different stage groups across GitLab. And that was the whole point. I mean, it was necessarily complex to invite everyone, but you know what I mean? It's just something that spans so many different areas that I hope that other teams also use this and maybe find some things to research on their own. Okay, so then we have a lot of one votes here. We already discussed these ones at the bottom: define, locate, prepare, and confirm. We've seen this problem before. This one is interesting. Who voted on this one and why?
I voted on that one because I didn't know if that should be positive or negative. It could be positive because someone's like, yes, I know how to solve this. Or it could be negative in the context of, we've already solved this. Why are we doing this again?
Right. Okay.
So it's just a question. I didn't know. People who have been developers would know better.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Then very quickly, it is hard to switch between tools to test reviewer suggestions locally. I think this makes a lot of sense. I dislike maintaining MRs to be neat. Takes time away from writing code. Also makes sense. Defines metrics for success. We already talked about this one. We need to focus more on an actual problem. Also discussed this one. I have a bad feeling about this, the Star Wars quote. Can't find the thing I was looking for. I don't know where this pain point is. Is it related to something in specific? The person who voted on this, if they could explain.
I think I voted on that and I didn't know what it meant. And now I can't find it. Can't find the thing I was looking for.
You can't find
I
what
wrote
you were
it,
looking
so.
for.
Oh no, Ben wrote it. Okay, I didn't know what it was.
It's just speaking to, like, sometimes you're looking for a particular issue or comment or commit or whatever it is, and it takes way too long. Yeah.
If it helps in the APAC EMEA session that we had today, this problem was also brought up about searching and finding things that you sometimes even recently looked at. The spec is failing in my CI tool, but passing on my machine. Okay, this one is a big one. My SCM tool is slow again. Is this related to, is this GitLab specifically? Like GitLab is slow again?
I wrote that sticky and it's Bitbucket too. And GitHub sometimes.
Okay, any GitLab, in any SCM tool, okay.
Very prevalent, especially if they're working on larger repos. So there are other SCM tools that do a lot better of a job at managing large files and repositories. Native Git does a bad job of this. So if you're using an SCM tool based on Git and you're dealing with huge files or large repos, I'm sure it's slow all the time.
Right. Yeah, thank you for that context, Sarah. And then finally, set up pairing call. This one is very interesting, an action that someone thinks we should do more research on. Can someone add more context?
Okay, I was voting for that one in the context of, I don't think this is something we need to look at. That seemed sort of an outlier to me.
Okay. And finally, research goals here at the bottom, another action. And I think this we already discussed, so it's to research or to understand the purpose of what we're doing, right? I think that was the case. And yeah. And okay, so that's that. Let's go to close it out. And let's have some confetti for everyone to celebrate. Woo! Yeah, we did it. I bought these confettis before I went to the store and bought them, and I just wanted to use them. Now, just very quickly, after this, what's going to happen is that I will share the recording of this session in the Epic. I would like everyone to share their thoughts and what they thought about the session and what they learned in the corresponding Epic wrap-up thread. There are 2 threads there, one for the intro session and one for the wrap-up thread. Feel free, if you haven't already, to also share your thoughts about what you thought of the first session, the intro session, if you participated in that one. So this is the intro session thread, and then there's this other one, the wrap-up session thread. And yeah, that's it. I hope everyone had a great time today, and it was as fun as it can be. To finalize, I'm going to ask very quickly if the 3 of you can share in the chat how you're feeling today. How's your mood through emoji? So there's an emoji picker on the chat there. You feel free to use it and just pick one emoji of how you're feeling at the end of this session. I hope ready to tackle the rest of your day. It's snowing there, Annabelle?
Yeah, like a lot. Hang on. Can you see?
Wow. Nice, beautiful.
We just got snow tires, so I can drive around.
Yeah. Amy, you're feeling inquisitive. And now let's wait for Ben.
A little bit of that too.
Mind blown. Nice. I like that. I think I hope that's a positive mind blown. There's also the negative kind of mind blowns. Yeah, I hope it's positive. Well, anyway, I'll let you go. You all have things to do as I do. Thank you so much again. It was nice seeing you. And I hope you have a great rest of your week and holidays if we don't see each other before then.
Thanks, Pedro. This was really great.
Cool. Thanks, Annabelle. Thanks,
Bye.
Amy, Ben. Bye-bye.